Hello students, welcome to a lesson through the virtual training center of the Brihan Mumbai Mahanagar Palika. My name is Shraddha teacher, and in this lockdown period, since we are not able to go to school, children, we will be doing many lessons here online through the virtual class. So come on, let's proceed to our lesson for today.
Hello students, welcome to a lesson here through the virtual training center of the Brihan Mumbai Mahanagar Palika, and my name is Shraddha teacher and I'm teaching you this lesson under the work from home sessions. Okay, so in this lesson today we are going to do a chapter in history, and the name of the chapter is Europe and India. So these are two different continents, and we are quite far away also from each other. So this is an outline map of Europe for you, and this is an outline map of India for us. Now this year, children, in standard 8th, we are going to talk about modern Indian history. So when we talk about history of modern India, it is very necessary to understand that there were so many things related to this particular continent, Europe, which affected the history of India. The very first thing was the Europeans, that is the British, the French, the Portuguese, etc. They came and they established their colonies in our country. Now, what led to the establishment of these colonies, or as we call it, imperialism, and how this imperialism impacted our country, and what were the other reasons which led the Europeans to search for places where they could go and settle down, or where they could exercise their powers. So all these things we will come to know when we talk about Europe, and then we will try and connect those incidents to things which happened in our country, India. So today's lesson, you're going to talk a lot about things which happened in Europe between the 13th and the 16th century. Okay, so there are many things which we have to talk about when we talk about the happenings which happened in Europe. So you have the Renaissance period which happened in Europe. You have the intellectual revolution which happened in Europe. Then there was the industrial revolution, and because of the industrial revolution there was a rise of capitalism. And because capitalism rose, that is, factories started, people started working on machines, there was mass production. And for this mass production, they needed raw material in large quantities, and therefore they started trying to source these raw materials from different countries. And that is how they started getting imperialistic in nature. And then they went to countries and they started staying there, they established their colonies there. That is how colonialism started. So a lot of these things, if you see, for example, imperialism, colonialism, all this is closely related to India. Even though these things happened in Europe, all these things are very closely related, or in one way or the other, directly or indirectly connected to the history of modern India. That is why we will be doing this lesson. We will be talking about what are these things. That is the Renaissance. What is the Renaissance? What is the intellectual revolution? And what was the meaning and what was the significance of the industrial revolution? Okay, so all these things we will be talking about in this particular lesson. We have a 15-minute time slot. So as much as time permits, we will try and cover the points. So the first point that we will talk about today is about Renaissance. Now, this picture, if you see, you will understand what all things were included under Renaissance. So Renaissance meant three things. One was a reformation. Reformation means a change. Okay. The other was religious reform. Religious reform means a major change in the way religion was perceived, or how people considered religion as a part of their life. That went a change during the age of Renaissance. All right. And then we had the geographical discoveries. That is, the European people, they tried to find new sea routes, and they tried and discovered different places on the earth's surface, and India was one of them. Okay, so when we talk about age of Renaissance, we will talk about these three things: Reformation, religious reform, and geographical discoveries. Now children, what is Renaissance? Now we've been talking about Renaissance. We have seen a picture earlier also about Renaissance, and we know that Renaissance means related to change, something about reform, okay, something about making something new. So what is the meaning of Renaissance? Let us see. And now I told you it happened between the 13th and the 16th century. So we also call it as period of Renaissance. So it did not happen overnight. It happened over a period of these 3-4 centuries. Okay. So Renaissance, it has its origin in the French language. It means a rebirth. Okay. Usually in a spiritual sense. So rebirth doesn't mean someone who's dead is born again, all right, like punarjanam that we talk about. But rebirth here means in the spiritual sense. That is, your soul is awakened again. Your soul, which was sleeping, has been awakened. Your spirits, which were believing in something else, has been reborn. Your faith has been reborn. So Renaissance is another word for rebirth. Okay? And the Renaissance period in Western history, it was a cultural movement. Cultural in the sense it included things like art, it included things like literature, religion. Okay? So it was not only something which dealt with money or with science and technology. It was a cultural movement, and it began in Florence in Italy, and it spread through most of Europe. Okay, so most parts of Europe came under the influence of the age of Renaissance. Now, let us talk about what is a Reformation. So, in this period, that is during the period of the 13th century to the 16th century, you will see that there was a lot of change, or there was a lot of, you can say, reform happening. Everything in the field of art, the field of architecture was changing. Okay, and then you will also see that during this period, there was a lot of discoveries which were happening. People were exploring other countries, all right. And during Renaissance, art especially, it underwent a huge change. So this is a image or a very famous picture of Mona Lisa by Leonardo da Vinci. So this is supposed to be a very, very important picture of big as well as far as the Renaissance period is concerned, because in the Renaissance period you will see there was a lot of focus on humanitarianism also. Humanitarianism means human beings, their feelings, okay, their beliefs. These were brought under focus. So art, in the field of art, there was a huge change in the way people drew, in the way people presented their art, okay, the themes of their art, etc. So art was affected by Renaissance. You will see how art underwent a lot of change during Renaissance. Architecture, that is the way people built buildings, monuments, etc., also underwent a huge change during this particular period of Renaissance. And humanitarianism became a very important aspect of Renaissance. That means that we start treating each other as human beings. Okay? The way you look at each other, the way you treat people, all these things became more important as far as the way the people lived was concerned. Okay? And religion was no longer on the forefront. Religion was not perceived as something which is most important. And slowly, the reform movement, it spread into other parts of life also. So religion also underwent a huge change during the period of Renaissance. Okay, and then you will see there were many discoveries also which happened during this period. For example, in the year 1450 AD, Johannes Gutenberg from Germany, he discovered the printing press. So you can see this is a printing press, which is a very basic model of a printing press which was discovered by Johann Gutenberg. And you know what must have happened after that? People had got a lot of access to the thoughts of other people. Okay, if someone writes something and that person could show it only to the people near him, Now when the printing press became available, thousands of copies of the same paper started being manufactured, and people could share thoughts with each other. New ideas were exchanged. All right, knowledge started reaching all sections of society. So this was one of the most important things, if you say, which happened, the most important change which happened. That is the discovery of the printing press by Johannes Gutenberg. See, this is a model of the printing press which was invented by him. All right. Now, in today's times, you will see a modern and ultra modern kind of printing presses. You even have these kind of machines at home. You have printers at home, isn't it now? But in the ancient times, this was what they had. All right. Now let us talk a little bit about religious reform movement before we go on and talk about geographical discoveries. So under the religious reform movement, people suddenly started realizing that the Roman Catholic Church, instead of promoting religion, instead of making people, instead of showing people the way to God, it was actually being oppressive, and it was harassing the common people, especially the Christian priests. Okay, they were taking undue advantage of the people, and they were playing on their minds, and they were making people indulge in unnecessary rituals, and the people were being looted actually in the name of religion. You can see this happening even today sometimes. So religion was being used as a weapon against the common people by the Roman Catholic priests. So that is what, during the religious movement, reform movement, when people could exchange their ideas, when the ideas of people reached far and wide, because of the printing press, because of the way the people started thinking, then suddenly the people started realizing that there should be some kind of a reformation which will happen in religion also. So not only in the field of art, not only in the field of philosophy, not only in the field of architecture, but they realize that we need to change the religious systems also of our countries. All right, and that is how the religious reform movement came into place, and human beings started getting more freedom, and they were able to break away from the shackles of these religions, or from the chain of these religions. Okay, so this was a religious reform movement. Now we come to a very, very important, you can say, incident which happened in the European continent, which had a direct impact on us Indians, and that is the discovery of geographical routes, or the geographical discoveries. Now let us try and find out why they had to discover new routes, and why they had to discover new places also. Now you will see that there was this particular province, or there was this particular area which was called as the Ottoman Empire. Okay, now this is a map, and on the map the reddish portion that you can see is the Ottoman Empire, and this place was ruled by the Ottoman Turks. All right. Now these people, they captured a very, very important and very, very strategic place, or strategic, you can say, location called as Constantinople. Now this Constantinople is called as Istanbul today. So they captured this place. Now Constantinople was actually the connection between Asia and Europe. So the route, the land route between Asia and Europe passed to this city of Constantinople. Now, when the Ottoman Turks conquered Constantinople, they blocked the route. All right, they stopped allowing the Europeans to pass from there and reach into Asia. Now, when they used to go by land, the reach for them, it was limited. Now they were started suffering losses also, because when the route was blocked, it means you cannot go there, you cannot conduct trade, you cannot bring things from there, you cannot sell your things over there. So now they discovered that they realized that they have to discover new routes there, and that is how new routes from Europe to India and other Asian countries were discovered. Okay, they realized that if you have to survive in the trade and industry, we have to somehow see to it that we develop new routes, or we discover new routes to India. Not only India, but many parts of Asia, but we are focusing on India because we are talking about the connection between Europe and India. So this children were some of the major things which affected, you can say, the history of modern India. Now there were some more things. Let us look at one last point before we finish the lesson for today. There was a lot of intellectual changes also which happened in the Europe. Okay, so there was enlightenment, you can say, or the way people thought. Now there were so many other things also which were affecting these people. For example, we talked about the religious reforms. We talked about the geographical discoveries. Okay, we talked about changes in art, changes in literature, changes in philosophy. So all these things affected, you can say, in one way or the other, the people of Europe, and in a way it affected the places which they had colonized. And you will see that because of this there was a lot of change which happened in the way the Europeans thought, and their change in turn affected the way they dealt with countries like India where they were ruling. So children, this is the first, you can say, part of the lesson. Now we have almost exhausted the 15 minutes time limit that we have. So in today's lesson, children, we talked about what is the meaning of Renaissance and why we have to learn about the things which happened in Europe, the important incidents which happened in Europe. Why do we in India have to learn about it? Because we are learning about the history of modern India in standard 8th. And when we are talking about history of modern India, the British rule, the French rule, the Portuguese rule are all going to be part of this particular history. So it is very important for us to know about the people who were our rulers. And that is how we have seen a part of this lesson, and hope you understood the lesson and hope you found the pictures interesting. Okay, so let's meet again next time for another lesson in social studies. So here is Shraddha teacher saying bye from the virtual training center of the Brihan Mumbai Mahanagar Palika.
So children, wasn't that a wonderful video? And did you enjoy watching it? So if you want to watch more such videos in future, then please like this video and also subscribe to our channel, the MCGM Portal for Education, and also hit the bell button so that you get notified whenever I upload a new video here. Thank you so much for now. Let's meet again soon.